Happy Wednesday, friends. It is so good to see you. I'm so excited to dig into this very special workshop. If you're new here, welcome. Like we said, drop in where you're coming in from, maybe what's in your cup, because we are all friends here and we are all really game to copy each other's homework. If it works for you, then we want to know what it is so that it can work for us too. So it's so good to see you. Big hi to Jeff and Jen and Vader and everybody, and Giacomo who's coming in. If you haven't already, I promise we're really fun. Say hello. This is going to be a little bit different. Normally we meet here every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. and we have coffee with interesting founders and leaders and CEOs, and we pick their brain and we steal all their homework. But today is a little bit different because we are doing one of my favorites, a mini workshop. So mini workshops are super fun. They are quick, they are fast, they are effective, and they're hopefully going to help you be better in your everyday life. So we've covered lots of different mini workshops in the past, everything from resumes to LinkedIn tips and tricks. We've done a lot of different mini workshops over the past couple months. So if you've missed any of those and you want to check them out, we can absolutely send you the links or they are available on my website if you want to check out any of those mini workshops. But today's mini workshop is no exception. It is super fun and exciting, and it's going to be all about managing others, managing up, managing down, and how to do that. So I am from, I love all these Seattle and Charleston and Waco, Texas, Long Island, India, Malaysia, New York, South Florida, Maryland, Toronto. Holy moly, do we have lots of people coming in from all over the place. It is so good to see. I'll go first. I'm in Austin, Texas, so it's so good to see you guys. Yeehaw. Can I say that? Yeehaw from Austin, Texas. We're saying it now. But I was in New York for 12 years before this. And as like most New Yorkers, I love to know what's going to be next. I love agendas. I'm type A. I like to know what's going on. So our agenda for today's mini workshop, first off, we're going to meet each other. Boom, done and done. We already did that. We're going to learn 3 ways to manage up. We are going to cover a big no-no for managing up, things that you absolutely don't want to do when you're managing up. Then we're going to sneak over to 3 ways to manage down. We're going to talk about mistakes to avoid and tackle any questions you have. This is an interactive mini workshop. So if you have questions, if you have things that you want to cover, that's what the chat box is for. Type it on in there. We can tackle it as they come. You don't have to hold all your questions to the end or feel like you can't ask questions because it's a workshop and I'm talking and you're not. We're both talking. So if you have questions or if you have a great comment like, hey, I tried this and it really worked, you know where to put it. Put it right in there so we can all figure out what's working for you and how it can work for us as well. So that is the rundown of what's going on today. Also, don't forget, if you would like notes from this workshop to be sent to you, you can go to sendmenotes.com, type in your email address, and on Friday-ish, we will send you all the notes with all the links and everything that we referenced in this talk. So if you want to just put down your pen and paper and lay back and just absorb this mini workshop here and now, we will send you all the notes so you don't really have to do that. And if you've already signed up for notes before, you don't need to sign up again. No worries. They're just going to come straight to your inbox. So that is what is going on in terms of this workshops. So I want to kick off and just kind of get an idea from everybody how they think about management, just kind of as a broad overview. So I'm curious if you could type in the chat, or if you can't type and you're just listening, you could answer this in your own head. Do you consciously manage people around you? Do you consciously say, okay, when I'm thinking about this thing, I'm managing others? Yes, I do feel like I'm managing others all the time. No, I just sort of live my life and I don't really think much about managing others. Do you think that you feel like you are managing others in a way that is sort of an everyday thing for you? So go ahead, answer that either in your own head or type yes or no in the comments so I can get just a glimpse of kind of where you are in terms of what it is. So David is a yes, Andrew's a yes, Ashley, Jen, Solange, Megan, Durag. We got lots of yeses. Jen makes a really good point. It depends on the relationship. Javier, Giacomo, we'll see you next week. Alana's 50-50. This makes total sense. It definitely depends on what the situation is and what you're doing. But one thing I think we can all agree on is that managing up is so important. And so when we say managing up, what does that actually mean? Managing up means most of us, myself included, have people that you can report to. That could mean you're reporting to clients if you're a service-based business. That could mean you're reporting to your boss or your boss's boss or your boss's boss's boss. It means that you have people above you that are giving you instructions, and you got to know, how do I manage people? How do I manage these people above me? And I always like to start with this because I find that so many people, when we talk about management, automatically think of people below them. You know, I'm the senior manager and I manage associate managers. But often we forget that you really should be managing people above you. You should be managing up as well as down. And so I love starting with this one because I think it's really one of the most important and the one that people forget the most. So we're going to talk about 3 main ways that you could manage up. First one is one of my favorites. If you want fast responses at work or with things that you are doing, frame your questions as yes or no. Your boss or your client, they are busy people. They got a lot going on. They got a lot of emails. They got a lot of texts. They're getting binged and dinged and called and questioned. They got a lot going on. So if you can minimize the amount of brain power it takes them to give you an answer, the better. Because if they have to use a lot of brain power, if they have to really, they're going to go, oh, I'll do that later. Oh, I'll leave it for tomorrow. Oh, I'll leave that for 2 days from now. And then you don't get your answer. So the more complicated you make it for others, the less likely they are to answer you immediately. I'm not saying they're never going to answer you. Of course, they will answer you, but it's just going to take them a lot longer. So let's go through an example because I think that this is helpful. So instead of saying, let's say you were talking to a boss or you were talking to a client, instead of saying, how would you like the outline created? Take initiative and say, I'm going to create this outline in order of due date. Are you good with that? Why? Because that's a yes or no question. And you're going to get your answer very quickly because your client or your boss is going to go, yep, great. Putting it by due date sounds wonderful. Or immediately they're going to be like, nope, I don't want it done by due date. And then of course, what happens next is they then think, well, how do I want it done? You know, nope, I don't want it done by due date. I want it based on location, or I want it based on department, or I want it based on something else. So exactly as Grace is pointing it out, we're keeping it sweet and simple. So those yes or no questions, really quick. Jesse makes another great point here. Brevity is the soul of wit. We want to keep it short and fast and easy for people to answer. Or as Andrew pointed out, the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. I know. I hate that last S, but we got to throw it in there. Keep it simple, stupid. So really saying, how can I frame these questions as yes or no? This has to be one of my favorite ways to manage up. And I don't know if any of my clients are joining this today, but the secret's out. I do this with you all the time. So I frame all of my client questions as yes or no, because I want answers out of them fast and I want answers out of them efficiently and quickly. So this is something that I do all the time. And Grace makes such a good point here. It also shows initiative. If you're coming in saying, hey, this is how I want to organize something, that again just propels everybody forward to say, okay, great. This is how we're going to do it. Done and done. So really shows initiative and it keeps it short and sweet. Next up is you want to help set priorities. If you have upper management or you have a boss or you have your boss's boss, You want to help them set priorities. And I have to say, I always knew this, but I have to really just strongly brag on Shelby from my team, because she does this with me so well. Because there are people, I'm sure I'm not the only one, who are like, we should do this and we should do this, and squirrel, gotta do this. And you're not really keeping track. You're just kind of like, we should do this, we should do this. And in terms of your everyday, you're not necessarily taking into account how long does that take? When would I need that by? You're just kind of, and so you might work with someone, whether it's a client, whether this is your boss, whether this is your boss's boss. You might also work with someone that's just kind of constantly throwing things at you. And you're sitting there and you're like, oh my God, Jim has once again asked me for the impossible. I already have a full plate doing XYZ, and now he just asked me to do Q. I can't believe it. Doesn't he know that I already have XYZ on my plate? And the truth is, we're not mind readers. Nobody's a mind reader. And you might say, well, they should remember. They just asked me for that yesterday. I don't remember what I ate for lunch 2 days ago. Okay. So if you're expecting people to remember an assignment that they gave you a week ago and how long it should take, no. No. Automatically no. I always joke, Abby and I always joke in our marketing business, you got a least common denominator. I don't know if anybody remembers that from math class, LCD, least common denominator. You got to assume that people don't remember and people don't know what's on your plate. That's the least. Don't give people extra credit. Don't pretend that people are knowing what is going on in your world. So do not assume that. So help set priorities if you're managing up. So again, to walk you through an example of this, instead of, in that example I just gave, being like, oh my gosh, Jim asked me to do something else. I can't believe it. I'm so stressed. Now I'm going to have to stay late, or I'm going to have to wake up early, or this other project's going to suffer because now he just gave me this other thing. Instead, frame that as, hi, Jim, I'm happy to work on this new task. However, I already have A, B, and C on my plate. Which would you like me to get to first? And what this does is it forces the person that you're interacting with to A, know what's on your plate because you've now listed it, and B, it's forced them to prioritize. And what you'll often find is when you present this, things get really, all of a sudden they're like, oh, you know what? It's not as important. I know I just told you about Q, but you're right. A, B, and C is more important. Let's have you stick with that. So really, by presenting it in a way that's holistic with everything right there, it provides that opportunity to say, you know what? Doesn't make sense. I don't think that we really need you to do that right now. And Jen makes a really good point here that the prioritization is the key aspect. We don't remember everybody else's stuff. We've taken it off our plate. We've moved it onto theirs. So we've moved on. We're on the next thing. So really using this to say, hey, this is what I have going on. Help me prioritize this. That is going to be a really strong way to manage up. It's going to force someone to say, ooh, now the ball's back in my court because I just tried to give somebody an assignment and boom, they're flinging it right back on me. I got to help them prioritize. So this is a really strong maneuver if you want to manage up, if you want to feel like, okay, I'm bringing my clients or my boss or whoever it might be above me, forcing them into this structure that they might not have otherwise realized. So that's going to be a good one. And I love this point that Brinda, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, brought up. Sometimes a manager will in fact say, oh, by the way, I need all 4 of those things done. And by the way, I need them all today. So I will say, is this a foolproof plan? No, but I will say, keep doing it, right? I always come back to this example because I think it's important, and I think it sort of is very relatable. We've all had or seen like a puppy before, right? Or a baby when you're teaching them to do things. If you have a puppy and let's say they go to the bathroom on the carpet, you might say, no, that was not good, puppy. You pooed on the carpet. That wasn't very nice. We don't want you to do that. But you don't just say to the puppy no one time. Every time they poo on the carpet, you say, no, you shouldn't be pooing on the carpet. So even if a manager right away says, well, I still want you to do all 4 things and I want you to do it right away, keep going. Keep making them try to prioritize, because eventually by the 4th, 5th, maybe 6th time you say it, it will start to click. They'll start to be like, all right, I do need to help them prioritize. So that's such a good point to bring up. It's not going to be a one and done. It's not going to be like, oh, okay, I said it and now everything is sunshine and rainbows, but it is something to just keep coming back to them too. So if you have a boss that just says everything's the priority, keep drilling down and saying, okay, if I only have 2 hours, what do you want me to get to first? Just keep drilling down as much as you can over and over again. What is the priority? What is the priority? So everything can't be the priority, or then nothing is the priority. Such a good point. We really have to say what is going to be that true statement on there. So that's a big one. The third way that you can really manage up in such a brilliant way is to bring ideas. And I know that this sounds so simple. People are like, Kim, so simple to send ideas. It sounds easy, but I promise you, it is so, so rare. Being proactive and sending ideas, it's a skill. And it is a skill that cannot be taught, but that every single manager is looking for. If you look at any basic job description, people are saying, we want a go-getter. We want someone who's innovative. We want someone who's bringing a lot to the table. They want someone who is saying, hey, I have an idea on this. Hey, I have this thing. So like, to give you more firm examples, again, if you have a creative idea, if you are in a place where you're like, hey, I have an idea of how we can do XYZ, bring that to your boss, to your client, to whoever it is. If you have a new software, for instance, that you think will make the team more effective, bring that in. Hey, I read this article. There's this new stuff that's called Asana, or that's called HubSpot, or that's called, any of these programs. I think we should start using it. Or I signed up for a free trial and I really like it. And then last but not least, maybe you read an interesting article about a new technique or something that you think the team should try. I know that these can seem so small, but you would be shocked by how few people actually do this. Very few people actually take the time to search out things and bring them back. And I really love this point that Jen makes. Even if you don't bring the idea, even if your boss says, well, thanks for sending that software over, but I don't think that we're going to use it, you're bringing options. You're bringing options, and that's valuable. So bringing ideas to the table, even if they keep getting shot down, even if you think, oh my God, Kim, I keep bringing my boss all these ideas and he just keeps saying, no, no, no. People might not show that appreciation, but I'm telling you, I talk to a lot of founders. Like I said, every Wednesday, we talk to interesting leaders, founders, and executives, and 99.9% of them all say the same thing, which is you can't teach innovation. You can't teach that sort of go-getter-ness. People just have it or they don't. So really showing that initiative is going to be huge. And I know Javier just brought up this point that, I used to think bringing ideas was kind of stepping on toes until I learned to do it. And then I learned, oh, wait, everybody likes ideas. And again, I'll use a silly example. And I use these silly examples just because I think they help paint a picture in everyone's mind. Imagine you go to a restaurant, right? And the restaurant only has 3 choices for dinner: chicken, steak, spaghetti. And you're like, chicken, steak, spaghetti. Like, that sounds good. Okay, come here for dinner. But then imagine you go to another restaurant and they have those same things, chicken, steak, spaghetti, but every single week they have a weekly special. Sometimes it's ribs, sometimes it's fish, sometimes it's crab cakes. After a while, you're going to be like, you know what? I kind of like this second restaurant because they're keeping I can do my chicken steak spaghetti. Like, I got my basics, I got my go-to, but maybe I'm feeling a little bit of something else. Maybe I'm feeling a little bit of flavor. And so I use that example because, again, your boss or your client or whoever it is, you have to remember there's probably many of you. Your boss might manage 10 people. Your boss might manage 50 people. Your client, you might be one of 3 vendors or 3 consultants or 3 advisors that they're looking at. And you want to be the one that has those weekly specials. You want to be, oh, you know what? I can always go to Kim because she's always giving me something new. Oh, I know I can go to Jeff because he's always coming up with something interesting. Oh, I know I can go to Elizabeth because Elizabeth is always bringing me fresh ideas. You want to be that person. So I think that is really huge and something that seems simple that people don't realize. Then we're going to shape this up with one of my very favorites, which is a managing up no. Do not do this. Do not pass go. Whatever you do, avoid this like the plague. Bringing a problem with no solution. No. And it's funny because Elizabeth just said the same exact thing. I swear, Elizabeth and I did not plan this before. Elizabeth, back me up in the comments by saying we didn't do this before, because Elizabeth said the same thing. Don't bring a problem without a solution. You gotta bring solutions every single time. Do not bring problems on their own. So the way that I like to think about this is you can bring a detailed outline of the problem because, sometimes problems aren't so simple. Sometimes there's a lot of details around the problem. And bring 2 to 3 potential ways that you can see solving it. So bring a full account of the problem. Here's everything that's going on with the problem, all the details of what's going on. And here's 2 to 3 ways that I think that we could solve this. And what that does is it's showing initiative and it's showing your boss, hey, I've already thought through this. So if you don't want to think through this, I got you. You don't have to think through this. I'm on the case. And so it shows that initiative. It shows that you're thorough. It shows that you're on the case. And again, going back to our point number 1, of really framing those fast answers from your boss as yes or no. If you're already coming up with a solution, and you got to imagine your boss is getting that piece of paper or getting that email and going, okay, here's the detail of the problem. Okay, here's 2 or 3 possible solutions. Solution B looks good. Then it's just an immediate, let's go with solution B. Boom, we're moving on. As opposed to bringing your boss the problem and they got to sit with the problem. Well, how would I solve the problem? Then they might come up with a solution that isn't going to work because of XYZ reasons. Then they give you what they think that you should do, but then you have to come back and tell them it won't work because you get the point. It's a mess. So come with those 2 to 3 solutions. Come ready to go. I'm not saying they're going to go with one of your 2 to 3 solutions, but there's a high probability that they do. So this is going to be key. And again, you can go to sendmenotes.com and we will send you all of these notes. I can already see people being like, we will send you the notes. So if you go to sendmenotes.com, all of this will be, and I would just like to say that is my serious boss voice. I think that's how bosses evaluate things. I don't know, but I have a sneaky suspicion. I don't know. You guys tell me if you think your boss sounds like that, but I think it could be interesting. So those are the 3 best tips and my 1 biggest no-no for managing up, which I think is one of the most important things that we can be doing. So now let's take it over to managing down. This is the definitely more traditional role of management, which means you are in a position to manage people that are working under you. So if you are a senior manager, that means that you are managing an assistant manager. Or if you are a worker and you have interns that are working under you, you're managing the interns. So, or again, it could be you managing a vendor or again, a client, if they are sort of, you are the decision maker and they are working for you, under you. So this is the more traditional management roles. But I think there are some great points in here to kind of give a reframe on and a refresh that you might not see anywhere else. So first and foremost, if you are managing others, when you are giving directions, give them verbally first and then give it in a written format. Verbally first, then written. Why do I say this? I say this because some people on the team are auditory learners. Have you ever seen people that can hear a song and then very quickly hum it back to you? They hear it and then their brain is already processing what they're hearing and they can recite it. However, there are some people that are visual learners. They might be amazing musicians, but they'll say, you know what? I need the sheet music. I need to see the notes. I can't just hear the notes. I have to see the notes. I'm a visual learner. I'll just use myself, for example. I am a visual learner. You can tell me things all day long. When people try to like tell me their phone number or tell me directions, I'm always like, what were the directions? What was the phone number you were telling me? I need it all written down. I am like a written word kind of gal, but not everybody's like me. So, again, verbal first and follow that up with a written recap, essentially. And Jeff makes such a good point. You can use phrases like, as discussed in our conversation, or as presented in the meeting, or as we spoke about, with specific dates, specific things to reference, specific results. That is going to be so important. It's funny, you probably didn't even realize we've been doing that right now, which is when I tell people, hey, if you want notes, go to sendmenotes.com. That's again, because some people will be here in the moment. And then when they exit, they're like, I already forgot. I love those points she made, especially that second one, but I can't remember what it was. So again, we're even doing this here because I know that some people are auditory learners and some people are written learners. So there's no right or no wrong. It's just everybody's a little bit different. But it's important to really focus on this because managing down is critical. And I'm glad Javier brought this up. Managing down sometimes is more challenging than managing up because there's a lot more factors at play. So I think managing down is definitely something that really, if you could focus in on, makes a huge difference. So the second point I think that we definitely have to cover is the classic reframe of any questions. Holy moly, you have been in meetings. I have been in meetings where somebody stands after a great presentation and goes, okay, Bob, so any questions? And you can hear a pin drop. That room is silent. You cannot hear anything. Nada, nothing. Nobody wants to ask a question. Nobody wants other people to think that they didn't understand the presentation. So then even if some people say no questions, even if you do have a question, you're then thinking, well, now I have to say I don't have a question because those few people said they didn't have a question. Then I don't want to look like I'm the only one. Do you see the inner dialogue that's happening in all of our minds? It's like, no one wants to ask the question. I don't really want to be the one to ask the question. So I'm not going to do it. So instead of saying, do you have any questions, or any questions at the end of a presentation? Instead, I love these two techniques. The first one, you can anticipate questions, and this helps people to feel a little more comfortable. And it can help them kind of feel like, oh, somebody else had this question. So you can anticipate questions and say, hey, when I gave this presentation earlier, or hey, when I was looking through this presentation earlier, one question I thought you might ask is, when's the due date? Or one question I thought you might ask is, what vendor are we going to for this? So almost create your own frequently asked questions. We've all seen that on a website, right? Like those questions that come up. Name one or two of those, and that can sometimes help kickstart where somebody else in the room will go, oh yeah, I was going to ask that question. When are the due dates for that? And that might spark somebody else to go, and how do those due dates compare to the other due dates we have from that separate project? So it just can kind of get the ball rolling. Because again, that dead quiet, no one making a peep, any questions is what we're trying to avoid. So if you can kind of get the ball rolling, that is going to be huge. So I love that technique. And then the second way is just to really rephrase the question by saying, is there any additional information that I missed here that you need to move forward? Why does this work? This works, really hear me on this because this is big. This works because when you ask any questions, people assume that you're done, you don't want to do anything else. And it makes them feel like they didn't understand. Like, well, gosh, I must be the only dumb one that doesn't understand slide 6 in this presentation, but I really just had no idea what Jason was talking about. So it puts the ownership on the individual to say, I didn't understand, which is really hard. Whereas in this rephrase, you're saying, is there any additional information that I missed? So you're taking blame as the presenter. You're saying, I might have missed something. You guys are awesome. I might have missed something. What did I miss? And then someone might go, you missed the due dates, Bob. When are the due dates? Or you missed the vendor information. How do we know what vendor to use? So you're really flipping the script and saying, hold on, what did I miss instead of what did you miss? And I love this point that Elizabeth brings up about using a plant in the audience. I have absolutely done this. If you have other people in the meeting with you, in the marketing meeting, in the sales meeting, in the, data meeting, whatever it is, if you have a friend or a colleague that you can be like, hey, can you ask the first question when I say, did I miss anything? That's great. If you can plant those seeds, absolutely do it. That's a great one. I also love this phrase that Jen brought up. This is a great one for us to steal and copy. What questions can I help answer to get you going? What can I help you answer so that you can run at full speed? I think that is huge and really helpful for people to understand, okay, how can somebody else take ownership of this? So that is a great one. Next up, this is so important as well. Learn your team's work schedule. So just like not everybody is a visual learner and not everybody is an auditory learner, there are times where people are on different schedules. And we have seen this more than ever with working remotely. I know that people are seeing this all over the place. I've seen this all over the place. And I'm actually curious, before I kind of reveal the very last point here, if you could type in the chat, what time of day are you most productive? When are you hitting your full stride? Is it in the morning? Are you sort of an early bird gets the worm type? Or are you sort of like, man, Kim, my mornings are really slow, but that after lunch, I get that kind of fuel in me, then I'm off to the races. So after lunch is my sort of glory zone. Or are you the type of person where you're like, oh man, late at night is my jam. I am a night owl. That is my preference. So seeing a lot of 9 a.m.s. I love Ryan's answer, which is after my third cup of coffee, whatever time that is. Allison is most productive in the morning, as is Solange, but we have a couple. Roberto, 8 to 10 could mean AM or PM. So that's an interesting one. But Maggie is on the 6 a.m. train. Elizabeth is a night owl for sure. Jessica is the middle of the afternoon. So as you can see here, you guys just made like the most important point that I could ever make. You just did it by all of these amazing answers, because we have afternoons, we have night times, we have really early gym is 6 to 7 a.m. I mean, holy cow, that is a really, really early one. So this proves my point perfectly that it's so important to learn when your team is productive because people are all over the place. You're going to have some team members that are early risers. You're going to have some team members that are, I call them late night magic makers. That's when the magic really hits for them. Why is this important? This is important for two reasons. If you know, let's say you have one person on your team that's really, really good in the morning, and you have one person in your team that is freaking awesome at staying up late. If you all of a sudden at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday get a request that you're like, oh man, we got an emergency, pants on fire, set the alarm, we got to get this done by tomorrow at 9 a.m. If you know your team well enough, you can say, hey, I want person A to take the first stab at this. They can sort of work late at night. And when you get done for the night, send it over to person B, because I know they're like Jim, getting up at 6 a.m. And that way we're hitting it from both angles. Instead of just saddling one person thinking, oh man, I have to do this heavy lift. You can kind of tag people together and say, hey, you're a late night and you're an early morning. Let's figure that out. Or again, an even more simple example is scheduling Zoom calls, scheduling mini workshops, scheduling things where you need people. If you know, man, 3 out of my 5 team members are really good in the morning. When you have an important workshop or important meeting that you want to hold, well, you probably shouldn't make it at 4 p.m. That's not when they're on their best. You really should make that a 9 a.m. Zoom call. So learning that about your team when they work best, I know that can seem very small, but you would be shocked by how many managers, if I went to them and said, hey, you have 5 people on your team, tell me when each of them works best. All of a sudden they're like, ooh, I don't know. I just kind of give them work and it just kind of gets done. I actually don't know when they work best. Really dig deep and ask these individual team members and say, hey, when are your best working hours? When do you really feel like you're hitting your stride? And I'm so happy that Jen brought this up because it's true for me too. Holy moly, do not give me anything after 3 p.m. on a Friday. My brain is done. My brain is mush. Don't ask for creative ideas. Don't ask for me to look at some big, long contract. It's just like, oh, I am done. Just absolutely not. I can't do it. So really dig deep, learn who your early birds are, those early risers, and learn how your late night magic makers can really keep the magic going for you. Last but not least, let's tackle one of the managing down no-nos. One of the big, I love this little emoji man when he does the big no-nos that we want to avoid at all costs. And I know you guys feel me on this. Micromanaging. I have yet to meet a human being that enjoys being micromanaged. And I will show you this in the most perfect analogy I could ever think of. If you have ever seen a child around the ages of, let's say, 2, 3, 4, and I know a lot of you guys with young kids will feel me on that, and you try to do something for them, tie their shoe, feed them food, what are they saying? I do it. No, I do it. So you're like, oh, but it's faster if I tie your shoe. And they're like, no, I want to tie my shoe. Or I want to get dressed, or I want to feed myself food. And you're like, even children, even these small, tiny humans do not enjoy being micromanaged by you. So if the 2 and 3-year-olds don't like it, holy moly, let me tell you what, the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60-year-olds are really not going to like it. So no one wants to be micromanaged. It's just a hard no. Don't do it. Resist the urge. But I know that the urges are real. I've had those urges too. I'm not, pot kettle black. I've definitely had urges to micromanage many a times. If you're feeling that urge to micromanage, like, but I just got to stay up to date and I got to know what's going on and it just makes me feel better, set up a system that prevents you from doing that. So if you're starting to feel the urge to micromanage, set up a system so that you don't do that. What could those examples look like? That could be a daily recap. So you could tell everybody on your team or your clients or your vendors, listen, hey guys, this is a big project. We all need to stay in the loop. Can everybody at 5 o'clock at the end of the day put in Slack or put in an email or whatever, just a daily recap of the 3 things that you completed today and the 3 things that you're lining up with tomorrow. Again, put the onus on them. Say, everybody give me a daily recap. Or if it doesn't need to be daily, maybe it's an end of the week recap. Hey, it's Friday. Here's what I did this week. Here's what we have up on tap for next week. This is going to be great. Or you can do a prioritization list that you all have access to. So I love this idea of, if you manage more than one person, you can have something that everybody has access to. So this can be a Google Drive doc. This could be Basecamp. People love Asana. People love Monday.com. People love HubSpot. People love ClickUp. There's lots of these different software tools that you can use, but everybody has access to it. So everybody can see who's busy with what, when, and that might stop you if you can kind of lurk or spy or peek on, like, what is Ellen doing? And you can see, okay, here are the things that Ellen's completed. Here are the things that Ellen's probably going to do later this week. That might help you sleep better at night. And it might help you resist the urge to Slack or email Ellen and say, well, what have you done? Well, what's the status report? Well, where are you? Because you've already lurked, or sort of spied on what they are doing. So I always think that if you're managing multiple people, having some sort of shared access system, whether it is Asana or Basecamp or HubSpot or any of these programs, can be a huge way to feel like, okay, I am not being micromanaged. I'm not feeling like my boss is breathing down my neck. But then your boss or your client or your vendor can think, okay, like, they're doing stuff. I can see it. It's happening. So I think really saying, okay, how do I have the best of both worlds? That can be super, super helpful. So as promised, I promised on the agenda that we would keep this mini and brief and short and quick. Hopefully this mini workshop has been helpful for you. If it has, I would love for you to keep learning from me. We put out content like this all the time. So there are 2 ways that you can learn: live learning, or what I like to call leisure learning. You can learn more about that by going to my website, kimkalp.com. Or if you want to stay on LinkedIn, the professional networking site, there are 2 ways that you can keep getting content and mini workshops like this from me. You can click that follow button on my profile, or they have a new fun bell. Looks like a little bell, and it is on the right-hand side of my profile, right underneath pretty much where my hand in my coffee cup is. So if that is something that is of interest to you, you can follow me on there, and that way you are getting that info. And then, of course, we meet here every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We have some awesome people coming up. We are doing some future proofing next week with Jonathan. We have an amazing new friend of mine, Tia Myers, who does an amazing amount of work with freelancers and how they can keep making money and pushing the envelope. So I hope that this has been a helpful mini workshop for you. If you have any questions right now and you felt like, oh, I didn't want to interrupt, she was on a roll, that's okay. Pop them in the chat right now. We can go through them together. If you have questions about managing up, managing down, or just managing in general, we can tackle it all together and pool our resources and pool all of our knowledge together to find a way that we can, really say, how do we get this done as a team? So I know Grace is asking, how do we ensure that things get done? This is, again, one of those systems with a team that you are really going to have to work out, and slowly but surely, whether it is from the use of management tools or check-ins, that is one of those. Hopefully it gets done. You just have to keep working on a system that works for everyone. And then I love this question from Elizabeth about delegating. How do you know which projects to delegate and which projects to complete yourself? I always struggle with this. I think this is something we have all struggled with in the past. From one time to another is really, what do I keep for me and what do I give to other people? This is, again, something that Shelby has taught me to do so well, because I was absolutely guilty of this as well, Elizabeth. And that is, I take my to-do list. Actually, here's my to-do list right here. I write down everything that's in my head, everything that's in my head. And that could be work-related things. That could be things like go grocery shopping or pick up the dry cleaning, just everything, just really brain dump so that nothing's left in there on a sheet of paper. Then look at that list and say, what out of that list requires me? Actually requires me to do it. So in that example I gave, like pick up the laundry, or maybe it's things like pull social media stats. That doesn't really require you. It just, the laundry has to get picked up and the social media stats need to get put into the internal system. Things that require you could be things like go over my tax return with the CPA. Well, that's really something you need to talk to the CPA about, the tax return. Or it could be something like review legal document or go review bank statements. That's really something that you need to do. But really look at your to-do list and say, if I had somebody else do that for me, how would that go? Now, most importantly, you might say, well, I don't like how somebody else on my team does that. I didn't ask if you liked it, because you might not. But can it get done? Can it actually get done by another human? And if it can, slowly, because I know that this is hard, slowly start releasing those tasks to other people, or asking other people on your team or in your household or in your network to help you with those tasks. Very slowly, just leaking it out to them. Because I know it is hard to delegate, but that is one system that has worked exceptionally well for me and for most of my other friends who are, again, leaders and founders and executives. Most people use some variation of that same method. So I have a feeling that it's going to work really well for you, Elizabeth, if you give it a shot. I just think kind of prioritizing what I can delegate, what I can't, who I can push that to, manage under me, or who I can push this to manage above me. This really is something that they should be doing. I think those are really wonderful points to bring up. So I just want to say that this has been so much fun. If you enjoyed this mini workshop, if this is something that you want to see more of, I would love to hear from you. You can write me a message. You can DM me on social media, whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn. Let me know if this was helpful. And then let me know if there are other things that you want us to cover. Like I said, we've done mini workshops on everything from LinkedIn to resume building to networking. There's lots of different topics that we've covered. But if there's something that you think you really want to touch on, let us know. And I will say, the fact that we picked this as management, that's because we were getting very similar to the question that we were just going over with delegation. There was a lot of questions coming in being like, how do I handle this manager? Or I'm managing people for the first time. How does this work? Or I'm thinking about getting interns. How would I manage them? So we get ideas for these mini workshops from you. So if you have an idea, we are all ears. We'd love to hear what ideas that you have. But thank you so much for joining. I think that this is going to be hopefully one of many mini workshops that we get to do together. Like I said, we are back here on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. If you would like to sign up for calendar notifications, you can go to getcoffeewithkim.com, and those calendar reminders will be in there for you. And that way you will never, ever, ever miss a session with us today. So like I said, it was an honor to be here with you. It was a wonderful mini workshop. I had fun. Hopefully you had fun. And I will see you all next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Have a great week.